for you guys. We read it. The kingdom of heaven is like a mustard seed, which a man took and planted in his field. Though it is the smallest of all seeds, yet when it grows, it is the largest of garden plants and becomes a tree, so that the birds come and perch in its branches. So let's unpack this a little bit. In Jesus' day, a mustard seed was the smallest seed anyone could have planted in a garden. It was barely noticeable. It was insignificant. If you go online and Google a mustard seed, it's tiny. I didn't have time to go buy mustard seeds, but they're small, okay? Like very insignificant seed in your hand. But when planted and given time, it could grow into a 15-foot tall tree or a large bush, provided shade and sheltered for animals and birds, like we read in this passage. Jesus was teaching them that the kingdom of God always starts small. I mean, we think about Jesus, right? He started with him, then he slowly invited people to be a part of what he was doing, and that eventually grew into something really epic and sweet, right? It started small. The kingdom of God is the gospel transforming hearts. It's people meeting Jesus. It's communities being built. It's hope spreading in dark places. And it almost always starts small. We can look at CPC. CPC also started really small with humble beginnings as well. But Jesus mentions the mustard seed again a few chapters along in Matthew 17. He doesn't just say the kingdom of God is like a mustard seed. He also states that our faith is like a mustard seed. So before we get to that verse, you can keep it up there, Riley. A man brings his demon-possessed son to Jesus' disciples. He says, "Can you heal my son? I know that this is happening. I'm hearing about it. Can you do it?" And the disciples try. They try to heal him, but nothing happens. This boy is still possessed. And finally, the man brings his son to Jesus and says, "Your disciples couldn't do it. Can you?" And Jesus heals the boy immediately. And then the disciples later, which makes sense, don't do it right now, but they pull him aside and they're like, "Jesus, why couldn't we drive out the demon that was inside that boy?" And Jesus says, "Because you have so little faith. Truly, I tell you, if you have a faith as small as a mustard seed, you can say to this mountain, 'Move from here to there,' and it will move." Do we catch this? In the first story, Jesus said the kingdom of God is like a mustard seed, small but powerful. In the second story, he says our faith is like a mustard seed, small but powerful. Jesus was showing them that the small things can lead to big things in the kingdom of God. He was also teaching them that it's not about how much faith you have. It's not about how much faith you have, but it is who your faith is placed in and how powerful he is. I want to take a moment to look at the mountains that are also mentioned in this passage. But in the Jewish culture, mountains represented two things typically when they were brought up in teachings. Impossible situations. Moving a mountain feels impossible. But it represented things that are unmovable or unfixable. So broken relationships, health issues, anxiety, depression, family drama, hard things, struggles, doubts, heartbreak, pain, things that we can't control. This is what these mountains symbolized. So the disciples trusted in their own ability and power rather than in God's in this moment. They could not do it because they believed in themselves